but please don't take any areas of improvement in a negative way. It is for your help, of course, as well as the help of the entire group. Right? So we would request a couple of volunteers, but first we'll share the do's and don'ts.
So I think starting with the do's and don'ts, let's focus on the do's first, and then the most basic challenge to understand here is that it's a sales process. You have to sell a profile, and that profile comprises of multiple things, multiple dimensions of your personality, your education, your academic learning, your extracurricular engagement, your evolution as a learner. That is your profile. And that profile you have to put across to the panel. The panel has a need. The panel has a need. What kind of need is that? What does the panel want? What is it that the panel is looking for? What traits are they looking for? Any one trait you think is required there, which you need to showcase, which you need to demonstrate? You have to talk today. It's your session, it's us and you. We have to co-create. You understand co-create? Co-create.
Providing work of, for example, introduction, that is going to be a back and forth. So we have to build up promptly using what they are saying as a basis.
Perfect. So I think that's a starting point. It's an action-reaction mechanism most of the time. But be prepared for anything. They may throw a certain ounce of change, which may not be conventional, which may take you off the handle completely. So you've got to be prepared for that as well. But yes, largely it's an action-reaction mechanism. In the process, you have to demonstrate your suitability for the program. You have to showcase certain traits. And we will talk about these traits as we move along. I think building up on the traits, Anup, I think that's probably a good idea, right?
Yeah, so see, the idea here is that this is a professional interaction, right? So an interview at most B schools will be a professional interaction where they expect you to highlight your professional achievement, skills, and your career path that you would like to follow, as well as they will share what you would like to know in case you would like to know anything. So the idea is most panels are not outliers. Most panels will not ask you irrelevant stuff or expect something which is out of the question. Most for a management career that you're trying to crack, right? So most panels would like you to be highlighting your skill set pertaining to management, your desires, where they are stemming from, and what are the things that you have clarity on, your path going forward, right? So it is very important to showcase those skills that you think pertain to management and which you have inculcated over the years. You need to highlight those. So they are not going to be asking you unjustified questions most of the time. There will be a few panels who are going to create pressure interviews, but that is, like I said, outliers. Most panels expect you to have the relevant skills. They expect you not to be in a herd mentality kind of a student. That's the kind of student that they're trying to weed out. चलो सब MBA का फॉर्म भर रहे हैं, सब कैट दे रहे हैं, सब तो मैंने भी दे दिया. They are expecting that they want to weed out such students. So they expect students to have clarity and skills related to management. Okay, so that's very important. And we'll elaborate on that further as well. Secondly, the panel expects you to have a thorough clarity on what you have already done. And this I'm saying more than the management part, which is going to be typically 15 to 20 minutes. The interview interaction is going to be 15 to 20 minutes. It is in those 15 to 20 minutes that you have to put across your best foot. You have to put across the things that you are really good at, to shine at, and they have to judge whether you are suitable enough or not. Correct? They don't have 6 hours to sit with you and say, okay, this guy has done really well, this guy has really good characteristics, traits, etc. They don't have that kind of time. They need to judge you in 15 minutes. Your job is to shine in those 15 minutes. Right? So, if you can prepare things which they are likely to talk to you about.
View the whole MBA challenge as a model, an input-output model. You understand the input? When you are talking about the panel, looking for people with willingness to learn, with task orientation, with collaboration, temperament suited for teamwork, capacity for hard work. That's the input we're talking about. Clarity, goal clarity, what you've done, clarity with respect to that, what you're aspiring, clarity with respect to that. So that clarity is going to be a strong differentiator there. That's the input we're talking about. The output we're talking about is an industry and society ready global business management professional. I want to be this somebody with a strong sense of social cause. The question is, what is meant by this social cause? Have you ever done community work? Have you or supported any cause which is dear to the society? Do you think organizations have to do these things? Is it not more about capitalism? So that debate can spark off. Right? That's the thing we're talking about, the action-reaction mechanism. Right? So that's the output. Then what happens inside the business school? I'm sure this happened in the morning. What happens inside the business school? So we touch it along the day. Yes, there is the case study methodology. Yes, there is teamwork. Yes, you interact with the best of best there. If you're talking about the IIFT environment, the ecosystem that you learn from, the energy which you have to leverage. So that energy is what you have to make them feel that you understand that energy and you want to be a part of it. That's the management angle. And then I think he talked about clarity. So goal clarity. Why engineering? Why commerce? Why MBA? Which sector do you want to contribute towards? Which function of management would you like to specialize in? I mean, people end up saying, sir, we study a bit of everything first year and then decide. Vis-a-vis somebody saying, sir, I am inclined towards marketing management and it rhymes with my personality. I think marketing is about delivering a value proposition to various stakeholders. Nothing the choice of words, stakeholders, value proposition, differentiator. I'm already walking that path to be there. So management.
Most of the time, right? So current awareness is also very important. Questions related to your extracurriculars, your competitions, debates, declamations you've done, events that you participated in, your internships, your work ex, things which you have done which are part of your resume are what I call knowledge, plus current affairs, right? So this is depth. The second category of questions is not about content. Like career path questions, for example. This is about confidence and clarity, like sir was saying. So if I ask you, what do you want to be after MBA? What kind of company you want to work for? Interest you on what is the current situation in Greenland, for example? What is the current situation in Greenland, for example? So these are knowledge questions, where I'm going to talk to you and test you. Kitna aata hai? I talked to you about your internship. You've done internship in, let's say, Cognizant. So tell me about Cognizant. Why is Cognizant trying to list their shares on the Indian stock exchanges now? Knowledge. You have worked in the company, you should know about it. On the other hand, you're 10 years old, there is no knowledge here. There is no content depth. It is your clarity, your communication, your confidence, how you deliver it, what terms do you use, what words do you use, your confidence, how you deliver it, what terms do you use, what words do you use. That is what is important here. So two types of questions, okay? Content testing questions, clarity testing questions, confidence testing questions.
You would study a subject of corporate governance. How do companies run? How are they operated? The principles of accountability, transparency, fairness, integrity, all these things you will appreciate as you go along. As you go along. As a learner in the domain of management. So vision, let's understand this one word very clearly. Vision is your desired future. That's it. There is no other definition. When you start meandering and you kind of talk about short-term, long-term, differentiators to define vision and mission, you are not going the right way. So vision is the desired future. Where do you see yourself? A week, a month, a year, years? The time period doesn't matter. And mission is your working philosophy. The way you would like to conduct yourself to accomplish that vision. Then he talked about research. Why do they ask you questions on current affairs? Why the Prime Minister of Nepal? Why the Trump, the actions he's engaging in? Why these questions? I mean, it's not a test of GK. It's a test of environmental sensitivity. You are part of an environment. So the immediate environment is you as a person, self-awareness. Then your family, the various institutions you've been a part of. Then the city, the state, the country, the world. This is how you have to look at things. There have been questions on the place you belong to. So I am so and so from the city, beautiful. The next question is very obvious. What is beautiful about the city? Are you talking about people and parks? Of course not. You're talking about the HDI. You're talking about a larger parameter to measure beauty. Beauty is not superficial. Your understanding of beauty has to be deep. You're from Ludhiana. So what is Ludhiana known for? I remember years back, I think I'm talking about 2012, and this person is a very popular personality now. Rahul Dua. He's from Tharpur, 2012 pass out, and then FMS. And as a mentee, we were preparing him for this challenge. And coming from Ludhiana years, 2012-11, Bharti Airtel had formed a strategic alliance with Zain Enterprises in South Africa. And Ludhiana, Sunil Bharti Mittal is from Ludhiana. So his entire interview was driven towards Airtel because he belonged to that city, and there's an entrepreneur you cannot miss from that city. And that organization which he represents has been fairly active the last few months. So that activity of what? Because it becomes a part of your environment. Nepal, you have to understand, part of your country's surrounding. That's the way you look at current affairs. So yes, content, clarity, confidence. Content, clarity, confidence. Vision, mission, principles of governance, research about yourself, your family, the place you belong, the world at large. And of course, business school you are aspiring for. What about that? Why this business school? You are appearing for interviews in two very similar or positioned business schools. I'm talking about in Ahmedabad. You are sitting before an IIM Bangalore to interview. And if you make it to Ahmedabad, will you join us? If you make it to both A and B, will you join B or not? The answer cannot be yes or no. The answer has to be more evolved. It has to be based on some research which you talked about. Did you research the two entities? It's a decision-making process. They want to see what parameters you have identified to make the decision. That's a challenge. Pathings are, I want to move to A or to B. Your verdict doesn't matter. What supports that verdict? So arrivals are not what they're looking at. They're looking at journeys. Right? So I think, yes, content, clarity, confidence.
See, the reason that we are saying this is so important, we have both stressed on your requirement of current affairs in the world around you. Typically, what we have seen, as well as what the panels have seen, is that at age 20 or 21, most students, or that would be wrong when I say most students, but many students are cotton balls by their families. So which means घर में रहे पूरी जिंदगी, exposure बहुत limited है, protected environment है, है ना, घर से. So students may be good in terms of their percentage and percentile. You might have done a great job in your academics, but are you aware of the world around you? Do you know the problems your city is facing? Issues. Have you read about opinions on important world matters? In other words, आप क्या वो कुएं के मेंढक से कुछ ज्यादा है? Because काफी सारे स्टूडेंट्स कुएं का मेंढक ही होते हैं. एकेडमिकली जो मुझे पढ़ाया गया, मैंने रट्टा मारा, मेरे के अच्छी परसेंटेज आ गई, गुड परसेंटाइल, गुड परसेंटेज, बट व्हाट मोर? And extending this point, I was saying yesterday only in my session, or day before yesterday we had a session, and I was saying this. See, today you have to be very clear. I will be very open with you, irrespective of how you feel about it. It's a question of demand and supply. You know the number of students applying for the interviews are more than the seats at any of the given top B schools. Correct? So therefore, the institutes have a choice to pick and choose amongst who they consider best. Right? So that is one reason why you should know current affairs and the world around you. Secondly, extending the same reasoning, I told this day for yesterday. If I have 500 interviews lined up today, out of that there are 100 computer science engineers, there are 100 mechanical engineers, 100 ENC engineers, electronics and communication. मेरे पास profile wise similar बहुत सारे students हैं, or within a percentage of let's say 2, 3, 4%, and similarly within 1 percentile. 100 computer science students हैं, सबका 98, 99 percentile है, similar academic performance है graduation में, similar buckets है, IT companies दोनों ने काम किया. How do I differentiate? How do you differentiate yourself? You need to be today, and this is where Indian colleges have evolved in recent years. American colleges have been doing this since many years. You need to have a multi-pronged personality. You need to be somebody who's got great percentage in college, also got a 98 percentile, and does needlepoint knitting. Now I don't have anybody in my prospective batch who does these two things. Somebody who's doing graphic designing for Canva along with other academic achievements that they have. You need to have that kind of thing. And don't worry, so we are not doing a post-mortem where you might be thinking कि ऐसा तो मेरे पास कुछ नहीं है. I was saying this yesterday, you can actually develop your hobbies to become a multifaceted person. So try to project yourself today in the mock interviews and even over the next few days in your preparation. Try to project yourself as more multifaceted, multi-talented, having multiple skill sets, not just an ENC engineer with a good percentage and percentile, but also having this skill set, a complementary skill set. So somebody was saying that I've done event management. Event management में बहुत कितनी growth है आज इंडिया में. Think about laughter clubs. Think about concerts which are happening in India. Think about sports, pickleball and all these sports which are कितना event management grow कर रहा है. So you are an event management guy and an engineer, and now look at what you are bringing to the table. Demand and supply. They want students who are diverse. They want students who bring an X factor to the table. You need to showcase that, and I'm sure it's not. I'm not saying that ये theoretical है. I'm sure आप में सब में कुछ ना कुछ तो hobby है ही है. You just need to think along those lines. Think along what other skills I have. What can I project and tell the panel? Look, I have a multiple unique skills. You might have another computer science engineer, you might have another BCom graduate, you might have 50 more BCom graduates, but another BCom graduate with this skill, not too likely. We need to develop that. Start thinking along those lines. It's not a question of developing it from scratch today. It's a question of starting to think about what are the skills. It's about learning to project those skills in an interview. Right? So that's what we're going to try and do.
Very true. Again, very interesting words here. One is personality. And the other, I think he talked about hobbies. So talking about hobbies, I think I travel back in time again, preparing mentees, students for these challenges. There was a time when the traffic talking about started. There are times when students start feeling that, oh my God, There are times when students start feeling that, oh my God, this is the same set of questions. And the challenge builds up because in such a generic situation, your ability to create a differentiator is even more demanding. Right? So that student, he got exhausted. He said, sir, ho jayega. I think I'll manage it. Then we gave him a concept. So and so, please make sure you look up your hobbies and interests. Sir, ये तो आती है. Okay. And then I think after this interaction, he probably went to coffee, and there was this coffee table book on Osho philosophy. He just chanced to look at it, and glance through the board. Somehow, got positioned in his mind. Now, next day, he faced the panel. In the sequence of questions, this question came along. So, Mr. So-and-so, what are your hobbies? They have answer. Sir, I love watching movies and I'm very passionate about listening to music. Now the panel stopped it there. There's nothing wrong in it. You don't have to be in a super evolved to deliver a value proposition. You have to be yourself. The panel stopped it there and said, these are run-of-the-mill hobbies. They're not impressive. Tell us something else. Are you there to impress the panel? Of course not. You are there to share your personality, your interests, your goal clarity, etc. with the panel. He somehow felt that ounce of pressure to impress the panel, to create. उसने कहा ये तो बहुत impressive है. Philosophy. Now, and he had no idea about it. He just glanced through it. This is a very strong input. It's a whole different thought process, a different philosophical tangent that you have taken on. And the assumption was, इनको क्या पता? Right? Just watch you. One of the panelists was an Osho freak. And the next few minutes was a rigorous barrage of questions. It was like spring, slush, and worse. They explored Osho in every possible way. And he felt embarrassed. And there are times when he doesn't let you do that. Here also, there is an opportunity to learn other things. We'll talk about it later in the day. You will experience mocks and you will build up on these tracks. So, hobbies and interests are very important, but you have to be prepared with more dimensions of that interest. For example, that student could have said, sir, watching movies is exciting for me because it reflects the reality of the society. I like to watch a certain genre of movies. There's nothing wrong in it. They won't accept it. I mean, they can't just rebuff you saying that this is not interesting, tell something else. They just put you through a certain ounce of strength and they want to see how you manage it. The other word which he shared was personality, building onto it. There have been situations where students have made statements like, sir, I have a personality which is multifaceted, as you can see in my profile. I think that's fantastic. They want such people, but if you're able to convince the panel that these different aspects understand and learn from these. Student को क्या पूछा गया था? The minute he said this, personality, say what is personality? Define personality. Now he's not ready for that. He wasn't prepared to define personality. If you're making a statement like this, these are words which are sacred for them. You need to come out with something at least. So personality is the sum total of all qualities with which one interacts with the world. Nothing wrong with it. So you're an engineer, mechanical engineer. Did you study quality management? Because you used quality there. See, you can't be too meticulous about what you're saying all the time. Yeah. But these mocks are going to give you those insights. That the action-reaction mechanism which governs your destiny on that day has to be understood. Whatever you say, the possibility of transmitting it to the next question. So please mark your words. But that does not mean that you be overcautious. You cannot be dangerously cautious. Limit your introduction to just what is. It has to be more evolutionary. I think should be invited for.
Yeah. One last thing I'll say before, so we are going to ask a couple of you for your resumes so that we can then take one and then do the interview. One last thing I'll say, you need to put one fact permanently in your brain. There will never ever in your life be a perfect interview where you know all the answers to all the questions. It will never happen. If, for example, you are taking up 20-25 questions in an interview, the panel asks you 25 questions, 5 to 10% of those are short questions you will not know the answers to. ये दिमाग में बिठाओगे तो अगला क्वेश्चन स्क्रू अप नहीं होगा. You have to understand that you cannot have a perfect interview ever. Nobody can. It is okay not to know the answer for a few questions. Relax your mind at that stage and move mentally to the next question. The problem, is that we screw up an interview because we didn't know a question and the entire thing after that went for a toss. Accept it that you will not know, even things that you may be prepared for. There may be a setback or a question framed in a certain way that you at that moment got confused, got blank, and you were not able to. It's fine. It's okay. It's not the end of the world, it's not the end of the interview. Just move on at that time, focus on the next question so that you don't screw that up. Because if you screw up the next 5 questions, then the interview is short. And that is where the regret comes, that is where you feel, I was better than this. I'm sure those of you who have taken interviews before in your life have had this feeling that I knew this, but I was not able to answer at that moment. I got blank, I fumbled, I stumbled, I started stammering. For some reason, I was not able to give an answer to something that I knew. This regret is something which you should not have. The only way to do this is to understand that there will be questions which you don't know. It's okay. Of course, our objective is 5-10%. That in out of 25 questions, 2 or 3 you don't know, it's okay. But if you don't know 50%, that of course is a problem. But 2-3 questions नहीं आते होंगे, ये given. Okay, so go with that mind into every interview, mock as well as your real interviews, and you will be okay. That confidence will not break, a blankness will not happen. You will be able to answer the rest of the interview. 2-3 questions given लेके चलो. Okay, so
I think I go back in time. So what Anoop said that I think is fantastic because there are times when students over-prepare. Now they're prepared for every possibility, right? It's like आप पूछ के देखिए इस बार, हाँ? So this candidate was very well prepared with her personality, strengths, weaknesses, sorted. The panel knew that she was the over-prepared category. They get to know it, which is okay. But you have to strike a balance. Now the question was, can you share any one weakness with us? And that girl, I think she was full of energy. So an obvious weakness was impulse. He said, sir, I tend to get impulsive at times. One more weakness. Sir, I'm organized, but I tend to be over meticulous. One more weakness. She had an answer to every question, and I think in the process of engaging with her, investigating her personality, they asked her 9 to 10 weaknesses, and she had an answer to all those questions, and she ended up sharing as many weaknesses. The panel stopped there, and they said, you have 9, 10 weaknesses. We have a candidate with so many weaknesses. Why can you select her? Now she wasn't. You have to draw a line. You are not out there to respond to every question. But as he said, a certain percentage of questions is understandable. You don't answer to. But Those questions should not be the defining concepts of your branch or the defining concepts of what you're aiming for. Mechanical engineer not knowing what's a differential is an offense. It's a crime. Either despite me, they'll form an opinion. So the kind of question matters. If the question is fairly evolved, not knowing an answer is understandable. A commerce student saying, I don't know what's a balance sheet, is a crime again. This is not excusable. Right? So, yes, it does matter.
Let's, any volunteers? Okay, please stand up. And yeah, so we'll just take a resume for a minute, both of you. Is it different? No, I just need one. Just want to see and then we'll see.
Hello.
Emotions. Okay, I'll ask request Gurbani to come, please. Please come. We need to place them face to face, right? Yeah. Please have a seat. Sir, notepad and pen.
Alright, this is going to be a mock interview. The idea is not to embarrass you or to make you uncomfortable. The idea is to prepare you for that day. The panel will respond in a certain way. Reaction
Please, after the interview.
the feedback panel. We want criticism, we want constructive feedback. It's very easy to say, "Aise nahi boli, waisa nahi kiya." But when you are there, things are very different. So we'll start. The whole process should be 5 to 10 minutes, not over. Okay, can you run us through your resume in 2 minutes? What is metallurgy?
Just 1 second. I think your mic is not working.
Mic.
Hello.
Maybe louder.
Hello.
So बस loud कर दो सर.
Hello.
So you said that you are a student of metallurgy. What changes does iron go through when you heat it?
When you heat iron, what happens is there are multiple forms of iron. We have Fe2O3 and Fe2O3. So what happens is
What is the molecular weight of Fe2O3? What do you recall in metallurgy? What do you recall in metallurgy? In any one concept you would like to share?
Okay, I was very well versed in the course of thermodynamics and kinetics. I can walk you through that. So thermodynamics tells you how energy transforms from one form to another. There are 3 basic laws. First is that the energy of the universe is.
That's okay. Thank you so much. Define energy.
Energy is the ability of a system to perform work.
You have the energy for starting a management program.
Yes.
Quantify it, please.
Okay. Energy has to do with the potential to be able to do work.
Which
Yes.
law will be applicable here?
All of the laws. Most
Give us an
primarily.
Give us an example.
Okay. When you close the room and there is energy required to sustain the temperature of the your refrigerator. So
You have
your refrigerator. So
You have a refrigerator.
yes.
So have you observed it carefully what What do you think is the thermodynamics of the refrigerator? What processes are happening inside?
What is
Four processes.
what is
Four processes. Four.
the first process that is happening is that there's an equilibrium between the heat,
Process. What is the process there? Like throttling. Is it happening inside the refrigerator? Like throttling. Is it happening inside the refrigerator? Throttling. Yeah, throttling.
I'm not sure. I'm not sure.
So you have metallurgy background. Tell us more
About
about
metallurgy.
you. Know about you.
So on an academic front, I have an all-India rank of 169 in JEE Mains B Architecture. I also gave GATE MT and secured an AIM 930. I took up a lot of leadership development. I was student representative to the dean for third year. I was the treasurer for American Society of Mechanical Engineers. I was a final round candidate at McKinsey and Company for junior software delivery analyst.
You passed on 25. You passed out from college in 25.
Yes.
You took a job from campus.
No.
Why not?
Yes.
You took a job from campus.
No.
Why not?
Because that is where I realized that I love studying engineering, but I don't want to be an engineer. But I don't want to be an engineer.
Why this dichotomy? You love engineering, but you don't want to be an engineer. Why?
I love studying engineering.
Okay, so why?
But when I went to the plant and I saw the ins and outs, this is where I realized that I like garnering the theoretical aspect of the sciences. I liked analyzing things. I liked to have critical inquiry about everything. But I don't see myself working in a plant. That is not
Why not?
because first of all, there is a lot less flexibility and things get more and more niche. So, for example, I could have taken an MTech, but that is where I realized this is not my field of interest. This is not what I see myself doing. But on the other side, I had exposure to management from my father's side
Talk
because
about management later.
yes,
First, let's talk about engineering. Okay, bicycle. This is step 1, step 2, step 3. This is how you ride a bicycle, and I tell you this whole thing theoretically. And then you say, okay, I don't want to do it practically. Now, why?
okay. Now the analysis of the bicycle. Then I take a ride on the bicycle, and then I realize, okay, I don't want to ride. That is different.
So what happened? So you took a ride, and assuming you talk about your internships,
Yeah.
right? So what happened in the internship that you said, no, this is not for me?
Okay. I wouldn't say internship. I would say the industrial route. So when I was in the industry, I saw professionals who were in the industry, and I asked them about their lives, and I asked them about how their day goes, what all is required.
What was the negative feedback that made you change your mind? What did they say that was so wrong?
They did not say anything negative. They said something which suited them, and that is where I realized this does not suit me. The example I can give you is that there is one thing where, for example, if you do a BTech, everything is broad. There's a lot of flexibility. But if you have you have an MTech and then you have a PhD. So you will realize that PhDs and MTechs are very, very niche. There's a lot of people whose entire PhD is on one, say, chip. And they have a lot of knowledge about that chip. There is nothing wrong with it. As the world is evolving, you are in a multi-specialized society. It is a good thing to have, a lot of localized knowledge about one thing. But that is where I realized this is not what I want to do. This suits this person. Good for them, great for them. But this is not where I see myself going. So I need more flexibility. And I don't want to stick to one skill. I want multiple skills.
What happens if you change your mind again tomorrow? So you want to get into management and you say again, I've studied management, now I want to do IAS.
No.
I think I want to get into administrative services. What happens then?
Okay. Again, with this, say a person does do this. I don't think there's anything wrong with it. It's a free world. You're allowed to keep changing and evolving. It is not that there's no end game to a skill. It is not that if you garner a skill and you don't.
Are you saying,
Yes.
do you agree that you are a very fickle person?
No.
Okay, because that's what it sounds like.
I do realize that based on this, it might sound like that, but I don't believe that I'm fickle, majorly because if I have committed to something that I have to do and I want to do, I will do it. So, like I said, if I want to be, and like I said that I wanted to
Put
study.
yourself in my shoes.
Okay.
I have a student in front of me who took up valuable engineering seat, did 4 years of theoretical conceptual training, now wants to enter a field where there would be absolutely no use of your knowledge, absolutely no use of your metallurgical training. Why should I give a seat to such a student?
Okay. First of all, no matter what knowledge from what field you garner, it does not render it useless if you are not entering that particular field. Skills are transferable. So whatever I garnered from my seat and my training, it is going to reflect further in whatever I take up. Furthermore, even if I was not interested in taking up my field, my commitment to complete my degree tells you that I can show up when I'm required to show up and do it consistently, which is going to transfer here.
You've got a GPA of 6.7. Comment
Yes.
on this.
I did get a CGPA of 6.7, so when I got my seat in Punjab Engineering College, my father was not keen on me taking another year for JEE Mains, so I prepared for JEE Mains alongside for the first year, so that reflects on my grade because I was doing both the things. And then eventually I had a health
A lot
crisis.
of your career so far sounds like somebody who's been not focused, not really, saying that I'm going to see this through. Because same thing here. You had multiple targets, and therefore your CGPA suffered. So you are somebody who's not focused, who changes their mind very quickly, somebody who's not driven. That's what it comes across. Do you agree?
No, because there were, say it does not reflect well in my CGP. At the end, I did give GATE, I did give multiple exams that showcase that I have prepared.
What is the Republic?
A republic is, okay, a republic is a congregation which,
Congregation?
yeah, it depends on what time you are taking it, not necessarily a country always. For example, the first republic was Greece. Then you had Rome, the idea
What is
kept
the
evolving.
difference between a republic and a democracy?
Uh,
We say India is a democratic republic. What does it mean?
I'm not sure.
Are these two words interchangeable? Is there
No,
something?
they're not interchangeable. They have definite meanings which are separate.
How is the Indian democracy different from, let us say, UK? How is the democratic system different?
Okay, UK is a constitutional monarchy. It is not necessarily a democratic republic, but the monarch is given earlier on with Henry VIII. It was the onset of constitutional monarchy. The parliament was there, and the king actually had power. But now it is more ceremonial, and
It's not a democracy.
it is a democracy, but with certain caveats.
But you don't know those caveats.
I do know the caveats. For example,
Why is this Republic Day special for India? What is the significance of this particular Republic Day that happens day after tomorrow?
I'm not sure.
Who is the chief guest invited to the Republic Day parade this
I'm
year?
not sure.
I think Anup is sure about doing a management program in MBA. So take us there. What are you sure about in the management program? What do you want to study?
I want to study HR. I've always been interested in HR. I've always been interested in sciences and the liberal arts. So management seemed ideal because it's both a science and an art. I want to deal with people. I like my interests include interiors and function design.
Can you take us through the HR function, your understanding of HR? What all responsible department of an organization perform?
Okay, first of all, there is a legal role. Other than that, you have to, there's a legal responsibility on the HR. Yes.
Can you explain this one?
Okay, for example, all the regulation in regards to employment, that has to be managed by the HR. They have to see if, you
So
know,
that is corporate law. We have a corporate lawyer in the organization.
yeah.
That somebody looks at the legal aspects. So, what does HR do?
I mean, there's obviously an intersection there. I'm not saying the entire responsibility of the corporate lawyer is HR.
You agree that the HR recruits and selects?
Yeah, they do have a role there.
Are these like similar words or are they different? Are they synonyms?
There is a distinction between them. You can select a group of people, does not necessarily mean you're recruiting them. So to recruit is to have a final offer that I am taking this person. So there's a commitment in recruitment.
Comes after selection. Is that what you say?
It can come after selection, but the word itself has a more confirmatory connotation.
Answer the question yes or no. Which comes before the other? Is recruitment coming before selection or is selection coming before recruitment?
If you have multiple rounds of, say, the process, then recruitment comes after selection. If there's only one singular round,
Recruitment comes after selection.
yeah,
Is that what you say?
yeah,
Your selection depends on this input. Are you still sure about it?
yes.
Okay. What is the responsibility of the HR once the person gets recruited / selected?
First of all, the job of the HR is to ensure that the person can transition properly and provide them with all the factors they need to be productive and congeal into the work environment. And
What is more important to be productive, to be effective, to be efficient? Are these like terms related?
okay, usually in popular media discourse, it is framed like there's always a tug of war between, quality and quantity of work produced.
Define quality as an engineer.
Okay, quality is your ability to work up to certain.
What is the definition of quality in engineering and science? That studied something on quality management in metallurgy and mechanical engineering.
There are certain tests to identify, product is measuring up to a certain standard.
Can you share any standards which measure the quality of a product? Or something?
Okay, when you have, say, you need a material which is, very hard, where, for example, you have diamonds or you have concrete. So you have,
Internationally established benchmark for measuring quality. You worked in organization, you did your internship there.
okay.
I'm sure there's
That depends on what your quantifier is. For example, say hardness, you have Rockefeller's scale.
What is that?
Hardness is the ability for anything to be able to sustain an indent on it. Indent is, for example, you take a marker and you put,
Have you sustained these indents which life has been imposing on you?
yes.
Give me one example.
Okay, during, for example, I'm here for the interview. When I gave CAT, my father had surgery, and so I had to manage my time between having to go to the hospital, managing my home because my mother is a doctor and she does not live here with
Did he
us.
have an HR department in hospital also? Have you seen one of them?
Yes.
What does that do? I mean, since you've interacted with an organization in a certain way, can you define the role of HR in this?
So, as far as the process is concerned, I'm aware that when medical professionals go to take MBA, there's a specific program for, getting into hospitals. So, I assume that is where they go from to become HR. So, they ensure that all the equipment and everything is provided and
Well, any one HR executive you would know of any organization?
I know an HR who formerly worked in Trident.
Right. So, were you influenced by something?
I was obviously influenced by her. I was influenced by my father. He did not work in HR, but he gave me the exposure, and due to that exposure, I could interact with persona.
Okay. Tell us about this.
Okay, this project, in this we assess the role of CSR, which is corporate social responsibility, and social entrepreneurship on sustainable development. So how that goes is we studied the literature, we walked ourselves through prior research which is done, and we took examples to see how all of this correlates in a broader setup of sustainable development, given that all economies are trying to go towards a circular economy setup. So we took examples, for example, Grameen Bank in Bangladesh. That is a very good example of social entrepreneurship. What they do, they microfinance, especially in the
That's okay, I know what you do. Tell me about your project, specifically your project. You took this example, then what did you do after that?
Eventually, we took multiple examples and we, tried to come to a final verdict on what is going
So
on.
when you say influence sustainable development metrics, did you use some statistical tools? Did you use correlation, regression, anything?
No.
So then how did you look at the influence? How do you measure the influence?
Okay, we actually did not use, our own. We relied more on secondary data.
So it was a literature review.
Yes, yes.
So you did a literature review of how social entrepreneurship affects sustainable development, but
Yes.
there was no connect that you formed in terms of influence. There was no metric developed.
Okay, there was metric in the research papers that we studied.
Somebody else had developed,
Yes.
right? But you did not.
Yes.
So you did just a literature review.
Yes.
Tell me what is the current status of the housing industry in China? You did this research paper in
Yes.
2022. What is the current status of the housing industry?
So it is still pretty similar to how it was. What was going on was that there was a housing bubble in China because its GDP was very reliant on.
What was my question? My question was not what was going on. What is the current status actually?
It's very similar to. There's not much changes there.
Quantify. Tell me what is the housing industry growth rate. Tell me what is the current issues that the housing industry is facing. Tell me specifically the current status.
The current problem is that about 20% of China's GDP is still reliant on infrastructure projects, still reliant on construction, but still the houses are not filling up, even though 80% of China's population has first homes and is still buying second and third homes. But that money is not flowing into the economy. It is taken as.
Who is the mayor of Chandigarh?
I'm not sure.
You belong to Chandigarh, right?
Yes.
Tell me, according to you, how many white Swift cars should there be in Chandigarh?
Okay.
Maru,
That I read that
what
there's
did
a
the
lot.
article say?
That there's a lot more cars in Chandigarh than we have the capacity, and it gave a number that population is.
No, so this number of 2 crore, where did you read this? Tell me that.
No, I read that these many, the influx of people is about 2 crores.
Yes, but no, sorry.
The influx of people accounts for about 2 crores because
You're saying there are 2 crore people who are coming into Chandigarh every day, or that's the average number of people in Chandigarh on any given day? What is this number?
this has, okay, the article was about the.
Every day, every year, every month.
2 crore cars are there on roads which are equated to people.
This is cars, not people.
Yeah,
2 crore is cars.
yeah.
So there are 2 crore cars in Chandigarh. Okay,
Yeah.
go on.
So I'm going to take, given that it is a very common frequent car, I would take at least one Swift Desire per 15 cars.
Per?
15 cars.
Okay. Why this ratio? Any logic behind it, or just a random guess?
It is not a random guess because from semi-urban Chandigarh area, I have seen Swift Desire to be one of the most go-to cars. People buy it a lot. And given that my father was in the automobile industry, so I have enough data to supplement that. Yes,
Tell me the data.
this is one of the most purchased
No data.
cars.
Most is not a data. Tell me data. You said you have data.
I don't have data, I have an approximate.
thinking, among others, critical thinking, mathematical reasoning, and problem solving. Did you use any of these while solving this problem?
Not to the best of my abilities, no.
What would you say are your weaknesses?
I over-identify with roles and responsibilities at times, other than which I can appear as slightly distant or standoffish because I'm slightly reserved
So you can appear distant.
and standoffish.
Okay. Why is that a weakness?
Because when you are in a corporate setup, you have to conceal and you have to make other people feel comfortable to approach. You have to
So
be
you're saying
approachable and agreeable.
EQ is more important than IQ?
That's not what I'm saying.
So emotions, what is the place of emotions in a corporate setup?
Emotions have a very important place in the corporate setup. For example, whenever you are talking about, a face of the company, it's always a leader who is charismatic. People follow charisma because at the end of the day, logical system, we are people who we are going to be influenced by our conscience and our subconscious and our unconscious. So we are driven to think via emotions. Our limbic systems and emotions are very important there. So to be able to function properly, even in terms of like productivity or
Have you
quantitative.
heard about the labor codes in India being revised with effect from 1st April this year? Have you heard anything? Some changes in the labor codes?
I
I'm
have
asking you
heard
because
it,
you're
but I am
aspiring
not.
HR manager, right? So you should know about this. You're an aspiring HR manager, right?
Yes.
So you should know about this, right?
Yes.
But you don't.
No.
Have you heard about the right to disconnect bill, which came up a month back?
I about like the discourse around.
Okay, tell me whatever you know.
I know that, for example, now with the advent of social media and the ability to reach everyone all the time, our systems are overwhelmed, and that has sprouted this robust discussion about should step back and set boundaries and say no to say a call after our work hours. So that has to do with the right of disconnect.
What is your opinion? So, assuming you're an HR manager in a company tomorrow, let's say you're an HR manager with Tata Steel, and this comes up for discussion that should Tata Steel, even though it is not a law yet, inculcate such a policy in its HR that you as an employer, boss, you cannot call your subordinates after a certain time. What is your view on this?
I am very on board with it.
Okay.
Because there are certain boundaries which need to be maintained, not for this only the sake of ethos, but
Would
also
there be any caveats that you put to such a policy?
that I would put, unless, for example, you have something very urgent, there has to be a benchmark. Okay, if this is the thing, this is our priority, and something out of the ordinary is happening, and you need people to be there, then and only
But
then.
wouldn't that be there a gray area? Because there is no clarity on urgent or what is urgent.
Always be defined later on.
So can
Because-
you define it now?
Okay.
You're in Tata Steel, you're the HR manager, you're handling the job flow workers, you're in the factory. Tell me what are the urgencies that you would quantify in this policy? That okay, in these cases you can call.
I would first of all have people shift such that someone or another is always at the premises, and if they feel overwhelmed and there's a consensus between the workforce, okay, this is the people who are present on the premises that we need more people, then they can reach out and then we can assess if we want people. So that is a procedure I would like to have in place.
What happens if you don't get selected this year? You don't get through your MBA college of your choice. What do you do?
That's okay. That happens to be part and parcel of life. Some constructive takeaway that I can take from it, I'll take it and I develop and incorporate it in my life, and I'll continue to grow from that. If I don't get in this MBA college, I would try to apply for other places.
If you don't get into any MBA college this year,
Then I would try to get some work experience and try again later on.
Why didn't you do that this year? Why didn't you appear for a job or take up a job this year?
Because I first of all wanted to garner more skills, and before I was, in the workplace.
You're saying the same thing for the next year as well. That you would again take up an MBA later on, but you would alongside do a job. Why didn't you do the same thing this year?
Because I wanted to get into academia. I wanted to garner another qualification before I ventured out.
Continuity is not there. There is a 1 year gap minimum. You passed out in 25 and you join in 26 at the latest. There will be a minimum 1 year gap. Continuity is
Okay.
not there.
That would be true if we are talking about institutions formally only, but I studied for CAT in this year, so I would account for that personally.
Understand my question, Gurbani. You are saying that you would attempt MBA again later on.
Yes,
Again, I'm assuming you would study at that time also.
yes,
But at that time, the difference you would also be doing a job.
yes.
Why is not the case this year?
Because again, when I'm doing that, first of all, when I'm doing that after giving this, then I have enough footing to be able to manage that alongside my work priorities, and if need be, elongate that, according to my requirements. But here I had a set goal that I need to do this in 5 months.
Two last questions. How many zeros are there in the row? How many zeros are there in the row?
6.
And any questions we have to ask?
Okay, given that you are the, MBA professionals, you deal with children. Say you get cream of the crop, but eventually say everyone has bad days and a kid is suffering. How do you, equip them to grow back and recover? What do you provide?
Thank you so much for being here. Right, all right, thank you. Any follow-up? And to face a panel asking a quick sequence of questions. And I think we'll start with what's your understanding of this interview? Very honestly.
There were a few potholes here and there, but the main idea behind it was keep going. No matter what they throw at you, eventually you'll be fine. But yeah, there were places where I could have done better or articulated better.
What was right? What was wrong for you? Do you think that you were going the right way?
There were a lot less numbers and statistics to back me up, so there was an unequal footing there.
What is the audience feel? Constructive criticism. You don't want.
Yes, feedback please. Anybody wants to share anything? It could be regarding her answers, it could be regarding her body language, the way she was speaking, her voice modulation, anything. Please.
Being very quick to answer and improvise rather than structure. I think taking a slide was more helpful.
Can you think of any question where you thought that this could have been placed better had she taken a bit of time?
When the metallurgy questioning starts, define metallurgy. On the industry, what were the things that that would be more this
Okay.
Like during that time, it felt like he knew inside what the answer should be, but he couldn't properly articulate it such that the panel would understand.
Okay. Good. Thank you.
Anybody else?
Yeah, so the question where you asked about the estimate of the number of Swift cars, particularly in Chandigarh, even though I don't have concern number because that is something anyone can take. But I think yes, it actually uses analytical and quantifying approaches to answer. You could have at least given a format that how she has come to that number. So the sense
Two
that
questions for you. One, which number is wrong? Which number?
I believe the population number.
How much is it?
I'm not
Approximately.
but I don't think it's too.
So you have no approximate idea also, but ये पता है गलत है.
population, like you said, that it is in the terms of income disparity.
Right.
That, this population would not be able to afford cars, and then so we would have a certain sector of population that would afford cars.
Right.
And then further on into that dissected into that this population would generally go to that this percent share would go for the luxury market and would go for the smaller cars.
So those would be based on your estimates or something that you read somewhere?
It could be a general estimate of roughly what
Your
the
estimates.
standard is.
Okay. Good, fine.
But ultimately she did manage to like the methodology question. She had an answer which I believe was not suitable for the interview. So she ultimately somehow managed to answer.
Which question I know about?
In the context that why she didn't go for the job and why she changed.
ठीक है. Good.
Thank you.
ठीक है. Anybody else? Good, getting lots of feedback. That's good. They're all good friends.
I just want to say that sitting in front of roughly 70-80 people and she gave a very well constructed interview. She did not give up, and I just feel like I have had some of the interviews and this was one of the tough interviews and she did not give up. So I do not have any criticism. I just want to say that it was a very good interview.
Thank you so much. Appreciation is equally important.
I think her body language was very calm and composed.
Yeah.
So that is one of the main things that is, that I would like makes you outshine. And I think that she responded to every question very quickly and in a very well structured manner. So that was also very rare in an interview.
And you also agree with all the answers?
I don't.
Any answers which you didn't agree?
I think she could have framed her reason for pursuing MBA in a better manner.
Okay.
Or maybe she could have reflected on that in a better way.
Mm,
So apart from that, I think she performed really great because she did not fumble anywhere.
right. ठीक है, good. Anybody else?
What about you? You have any feedback from her? They are charmed by you. The balance and voice. To be appreciated, yes. The balance and voice.
I also agree that her balance and poise was there. She did not, even though she made some answers, yes, we will give feedback on that side. The balance and poise didn't go. Yes, what else? Anybody? Any specific question? Yes.
When she was jumping to answer, she was dogmatic at anything. Pure yes or no.
Yeah.
I feel like she could have been more nuanced in some
So that critical वाला जो strength लिखा हुआ है, that somewhere, yeah, true. True. Yes.
See, your responses were at times, they would start from a yes or no. That's what he means. So start becomes, it's like you passing a verdict a bit too soon. We said, leave is more important. So, and there was a question where it was like the answer to this question is not right, you will not be selected. But you stuck to it. You stuck to the recruitment selection there. Just the other way around. That's okay. Wait. Okay. But why were you so sure about that? Or were you just taking a chance?
No, I was sure from the
You were sure? We need to work on that, okay? So, recruitment and then selection. When you apply, you come on.
Basic English meaning selection is, it's the final thing. Selection is obviously the last part of the process. Selection matlab done. The entire process is over. Anybody else?
Yeah, I think for that, whenever you are throwing a function of management to the panel, you need to study about it, basic understanding of the responsibility areas of that function, a flow chart, a value chain, what it looks like. Some companies, some people who kind of are the enemies of that function of management. That kind of pre-work is absolutely mandatory. So I think that was a put off for us. Because, because to engineering, you are not able to debate. And the other side, she did a great job, of course. But on the engineering side, I think you fumbled. Thermodynamics, mechanical, metallurgy, Khalida. And then I think you got into a huge discussion with him. You were not trying to learn from the experience there. So dogmatic, yes, at times. So balance and poise, they are one aspect of your performance. The other is learn. So you stuck to it.
This is actually a fantastic point which we are discussing now, which is, so when we say you have to appear confident, like I was saying in the beginning of the session, that she did, but confident at the cost of, appearing stubborn, that is somewhere where we cross the line, I feel today. So so just to give you the example that he was just saying. So sir asked, are you sure your selection depends on this? At that time, you should have taken 10 seconds to, can I think of anything else I've read which could be different? But your answer was again immediate. No, I'm sure. He gave you an opportunity twice, thrice, then okay, just think. Should have thought at that time. The confidence is good, but then when it looks that this person is just stuck, that becomes slightly negative. So that's a very thin line between confidence and appearing dogmatic. Okay, so that's one thing. Second, I'll add, and this is to be fair, I'm sure over the day everybody will see this in themselves also. GK is a problem. And like I told you, it's going to be the best amongst everybody. People who have the ability to prepare, have the ability to put in those hours, will stand out in an interview because out of 190 people will be in similar situation. So why should you not know 2 days before the Republic Day, right here it's written, why should you not know what is the Republic? Why should you not know how institutional democracy? Why should you not know that this is the 150th anniversary of our national song this year, this Republic Day? Why should you not know who's the chief guest at the parade this year? So, and this is not affairs which are tough. This is very topical, today's kind of current affairs which I am talking about. जो मतलब आज आपको मालूम मुझे if you read today's newspaper or yesterday's newspaper, you should know this. Okay? So GK everybody would have like this. In life, you are not a fresh student, but at the same time, in terms of interviews, you look like a raw candidate. You seem like somebody who has some answers, not all, some answers. So this cars wala thing which they gave you the example. So, but then 2 crores is a completely, completely erroneous number. The population of Chandigarh is little less than 2 million right now. 1.3 million is 2011 survey, 2011 census. So it's little less than 2 million. It's an estimate. There is no survey which has been conducted after that, but that's the estimate. And you're also right that the cars is more than that. So you can approach it from that side, the population side, looking at the average per capita income side, average per capita income का number क्या आपके पास किसके पास होगा, or you can look at it from the market, कितनी car population है, and then within that Swift is the largest selling car, like that kind of thing. So
Adding to I think what you were saying, I think his input was very specific, understanding of numbers, and this is why the panel towards the end asked this question. How many zeros are there in a crore? And he moved up there. He said 6. So your understanding of So your understanding of numbers was challenged. No, we're not discounting you as an engineer here. I think you're fantastic before you are. But the panel got the special that you're not aware of how do you quantify data. So that question came along in that particular sense, and he asked me this question because guesstimation is a very popular way of problem solving abilities. It is used in campuses, engineering campuses, management campuses to assess these skills. And you mentioned these things in your resume. And
Yes.
This is why this question came along.
Critical thinking, mathematical reasoning, you've written this. So, good and bad, but okay. Fairly good. I'm sure that if I take a interview of every one of the students in the room, you will be among the top percentile in terms of your actual outcome.
So it should not be college.
But like I said in the beginning also, there will be a few questions which you don't know. That's fine. There are a few that you can still polish. That's also okay. But overall, you did a fairly good job.
See, can we clap on it again? Strategize. Remember, you are aiming for a program which is strategic in nature. Every question, every such question, you will have an inventory of 10, 11 such questions. Right? And then it's action reaction, as we say. Your approach should be, we talk about the CARE approach. CAR. Try to understand the challenge in that question, why the question was asked. Then A is your approach. How should you therefore approach what skills to be demonstrated? Then a sample response, rehearse it, get a feedback. Exactly what you plan to do today, the whole day. And then E is evasion. क्या नहीं बोलना? Because a lot of things which should not have been said, like being dogmatic, passing verdicts, holding on to your stand when the stand wasn't strong enough. So I think what not to say. So CARE, if you approach the questions like this, maybe you have a better chance. But by and large,
Yeah. Thank you so much. Thank you. I guess we're done. Okay. So I think any questions from the audience before we close? Anything you would like to ask us? So like I said, these are some questions like somebody said that get difficult, but it's not difficult. This was a very average interview. This was not tough, right? For example, when she said HR, different kinds of motivation, because I didn't do HR. So therefore, if you want to do HR before you come here, so different kinds of motivation concepts. I would have asked her about compensation. I could have asked her about, like sir said, well-known, influential HR managers, respected HR managers in India, different companies. So then your knowledge should be there. So this was a very, what she said, we followed kind of interview. Nothing out of the box, nothing which was totally unexpected. I picked up skills which she had written, right? So this is a very average interview. We need to get to bare minimum this level. This is bare minimum. This is what an average interview will look like. This was not a difficult interview. So any questions for us before we close? Yes, please.
But so they not got of general management and more into operating finance as a business. So how do I frame an answer which I can back up in that particular state, even if I don't have?
I think let me respond to it. Any function of management would have certain skills required. Right? You need to see whether those skills are being reflected in your profile or not. In your interaction, in formal situations, are these reflected? Is critical reasoning being reflected there? And therefore, say finance, ratio analysis. Some people say I'm a people's person. So did you resolve any conflict anywhere? If you were able to do it at a micro level, you can train for that particular leverage. Right. So basic skill you can stretch that and see if it can be extrapolated. That is one way. Like second is any subject which you have studied which indicates in that direction. For example, I've known engineers who study corporate finance as electives. Right. So they can possibly link it to that. That is one subject intrigues me, and I got interested to know more about it, and I met people who talk about the finance, the career paths and the options there. And he was very closely following it. Not because he wanted to be a scamster himself, but the whole thing. And he shared that as an answer to the panel. So take it. But when you tell him that I will study everything in first year and then decide, you are postponing the incidence of decision making. You are an escapist. It is too diplomatic. And they want clarity. I think that's what we started with. We talked about clarity, content, confidence. So three skills goes now. Right? So this is, I think.
So basic idea should be there. I mean that again, it's what comes across as genuine. No, if you are even in engineering background or nothing related to commerce kind of background, even then, if you are at a stage in your life, so it's the first time in your life that you are at a stage which will define the next 50 years of your life. I hope you know that. अभी तक ऐसी आपकी लाइफ में कोई टर्निंग पॉइंट नहीं आया which is going to define the next 50 years, but now it will. So if this is the kind of weight of the decision that you are taking now, that you are going into it without any research looks ridiculous. That you haven't researched anything about management, which a layman can on Google, on AI, and say, okay, tell me about the different functions of management. Tell me about the career opportunities after each of these functions. Tell me about, what pundits are saying as the future of an MBA. If you haven't done this basic research, why are you here? Why are you risking 50 years of your professional life on, somebody saying MBA kar lo? That comes across as a problem. So that you've done basic research on the functions of management, on the career opportunities, that should be shown, even if you're a non-commerce graduate. It doesn't mean that you stick to HR or you stick to finance or you stick to operations and say this clarity is 100%, but that you have basic knowledge should be showcased. It is required. Think about it, isn't it not justified that you are staking your next 50 years on this decision, but you haven't done any research on it? So, yeah, some knowledge should be there. Okay, guys, thank you. If there are any other questions, you can ask us during the day, anytime. We'll be here in the lunch as well as the evening tea break. So you can ask us at that time also. So we'll take a break now, sir. What is the plan?
Yeah, sir.
Yeah, so there's a break till 12. Then we'll talk about essay writing after that. So we'll meet at 12, come back by 12. We'll talk about essay writing at that time.
All the best. Thank you.